Today, we're taking a drive along one of Canada's most vital transportation corridors. Highway 1 from Kamloops all the way to the Alberta border. This isn't just any road. It's the backbone for cross-country freight and a lifeline for community in the Shuswap, Revelstoke, and Golden, and one of the most heavily traveled tourist routes in the Rockies. But despite its importance, big chunks of this highway are still just 2 lanes wide, winding through the mountain passes, avalanche zones, and rockfall areas that make it one of the most dangerous drives in the country. In this video, we're cutting through the noise and breaking down the 4-laning program. We'll start with the single-lane sections that remain high risk and see why they cause so many crashes and bottlenecks. Then we'll look at the stretches that have already been upgraded, the modern 4-lane sections that are proving how much safer and more reliable this corridor can be. We'll also cover what's currently under construction, the projects that are next in line, and the long-term plans that are still sitting on the drawing board. And we'll dig into the biggest roadblock of all, why the sections through the national parks are moving so slowly, and what makes them so much harder to twin compared to other parts of the highway. Finally, stick around to the end as we pinpoint the deadliest stretches you need to treat with extra caution and reveal why, despite their danger, they aren't always the first to get prioritized. From Kamloops heading east, Highway 1 turns into a patchwork, alternating between modern 4-lane upgrades and long stretches that remain just 2 lanes wide. And it's those gaps, the older 2-lane sections, that define the driving experience for much of this corridor. The most stressful and dangerous parts begin in Shuswap and carry deep into the Columbia Mountains. From Chase through Sicamous to Revelstoke, you're running narrow river valleys and steep lakeshore banks, often caught behind long lines of trucks with nowhere to pass. Beyond Revelstoke, the highway enters Mount Revelstoke, Glacier, and Yoho National Park. Climbing over Rogers Pass and squeezing through canyon walls where even small incidences ripple into hours of traffic backup. So what makes these stretches so high risk? Tight geometry and short sight lines, the road twists around lakes and cliffs with blind corners and sudden drop-offs. Stuck behind a slow RV or semi, drivers often take chances passing where they shouldn't, and head-on collisions remain one of the highway's biggest killers. Heavy seasonal volumes. In summer, it's tourists and RVs headed to the lakes or the Rockies. In winter, key traffic mixes with heavy trucks. This 2-lane highway simply wasn't built for the demand it carries. Natural hazards. Few roads in Canada face as many. Rockfall zones line the cliffs at Three Valley Gap. Avalanches hammer Rogers Pass every winter, forcing closures. Even when it's open, sudden whiteouts, ice, and flooding can change conditions instantly. These are the bottlenecks we'll see fixed in phases, but not all at once. Shuswap Lake Corridor. In the Shuswap, between Chase and Sicamous, Highway 1 hugs the lakeshore and cuts through small towns, driveways, and at grade intersections. Summer brings waves of RVs and boat trailers mixing with long-haul trucks. Local traffic turning on and off the highway create constant conflict points at 100 kilometers per hour. Some fixes are in place, like Chase West and Salmon Arm West, but big gaps remain, and it's here where frustration often turns into dangerous passing maneuvers. Upgrade status. Active work is happening here. Ford Road to Tappen Valley Road, under construction with new Tappen overhead. R.W. Bruin Bridge at Sicamous, under construction, a new 4-lane bridge with completion targeted for 2027. More phases around Salmon Arm are in design with further extensions planned. Three Valley Gap. Here, the highway squeezes between sheer cliffs and the waters of Three Valley Lake. Shoulders are almost non-existent, and there's no room to maneuver if something goes wrong. Rockfall nets hang above, but debris still reaches the road, triggering closures and long delays. Sight lines are short, curves are tight, and in heavy traffic, you can end up crawling in a convoy with no chance to pass. Add in avalanches in the winter, and it's no surprise this section is a crash hotspot year after year. Upgrade status. No four-laning project is yet approved for this section, and so far it remains in long-term planning. Rogers Pass. Rogers Pass is one of the most avalanche-prone transport corridors in North America. Sitting at over 1,300 meters, its steep slope funnels snow straight onto the highway. Parks Canada manages dozens of avalanche paths here, using artillery to trigger slides in controlled conditions. In winter, you'll often be stopped while they work. Even when open, conditions can flip from sun to snowstorm in minutes. Long grades, slow trucks, corners ice up, and sheer unpredictability makes this one of the country's most demanding drives. Upgrade status. No confirmed four-laning contract. Parks Canada continues avalanche control and incremental rehab, but a major widening project here has yet been scheduled. Donald and Quartz Creek. Historically, the Donald and Quartz Creek bridges were notorious choke points, long crossings with narrow lanes, no separation, and a history of head-on collisions. New four-lane bridges have now opened here, dramatically improving safety. But because the four-lane pieces are still isolated, drivers still face sudden transitions back into older, winding two-lane sections. Until the gaps are tied together, the risk doesn't fully disappear. Upgrade status complete. New bridges at Quartz Creek and Donald opened in 2024. The nearby Selkirk project, adding wildlife crossings and more four-laning, is currently under construction. Yoho National Park. Past Golden, the road enters Yoho, threading between canyon walls, rivers, and rail lines. The Kicking Horse River and CP rail squeeze the corridor so tightly that curves are sharp, shoulders are narrow, and passing almost impossible. Tourist traffic to Lake Louise and Banff piles on top of trucks, creating bottlenecks that can last for hours. And when crashes happen, closure here leaves drivers with no practical detours. Upgrade status. No twinning project currently active. Being within a national park, work here faces the same environmental reviews and federal approval as Glacier. Progress is slower and focused mostly on safety maintenance. These hotspots explain why Highway 1 east of Kamloops is both breathtaking and dangerous. Each stretch comes with its own set of hazards, from avalanches to blind curves to crushing volumes of traffic. Upgrades are coming, but in phases, not all at once. Until the pieces connect, every driver needs to approach these sections with patience, caution, and respect for how unforgiving this road can be. Let's give credit where it's due. Highway 1 east of Kamloops is safer today than it was even 5 years ago. A string of upgrades has already transformed some of the worst choke points into reliable modern four-lane highway. Each one not only adds capacity, but also tackles the exact causes of crashes we've seen for decades. Head-ons, hidden driveways, slow truck remerging into fast traffic, and winter bottlenecks. Chase Creek Road to Chase West. This project, substantially completed in 2023, realigned the highway west of town into a divided four-lane corridor, where drivers once faced blind curves, sudden intersections, and risky passing. There's now a safer, straighter alignment with proper median separation. Local access has been reorganized, cutting down conflict points, and the new design finally ends the sketchy passing maneuvers that caused so many near misses. Salmon Arm West. 1st Avenue Southwest to 10th Avenue Southwest. Finished with a brand new interchange, this stretch removed one of the most dangerous features on the corridor, left turns across the highway. The new Dr. Mary Thompson Bridge over the Salmon River ties directly into the 4-lane section, while frontage roads keep local traffic off the main line. A multi-use path adds safe space for pedestrians and cyclists. The end result, smoother highway flow and far fewer crash opportunities. Shuswap, east of Revelstoke. At the base of Glacier National Park, Shuswap was notorious for heavy trucks flowing to a crawl, then remerging at a dangerous speed differential. The upgrade here added a proper 4-lane section with an expanded brake check area, giving truckers space to stop safely without spilling back into live traffic. Drivers now face a steady flow instead of sudden speed drop, and the risk of high-speed merges has been cut way down. Quartz Creek and Donald Bridges, west of Golden. Long bridges with narrow lanes once made this a white-knuckle stretch, especially in winter. But in 2024, 2 major packages wrapped up. A brand new 4-lane bridge at Quartz Creek and a modernized Donald Bridge with 4-laned approaches. Both were built to a consistent 100-kilometer-an-hour standard, with wider shoulders, safer overtaking, and a design that finally matches the traffic demand. These were historic choke points. Now they're some of the safest pieces of the road on the whole corridor. Kicking Horse Canyon, Golden to Yoho boundary. The last and most famous piece to be modernized, Kicking Horse Canyon, known for decades as one of Canada's deadliest mountain highways. This stretch was infamous for blind curves, rockfalls, and endless crashes. But as of July 31st, 2024, Phase 4 is complete. The canyon now features 4 divided lanes, smoother curves, concrete barriers, and modern avalanche protection. For drivers, that means not just fewer head-ons, but a corridor that's far more resilient in winter storms. The result of these upgrades, fewer head-ons, fewer driveway conflicts, and much better resilience against winter shutdowns. Step by step, the Trans-Canada between Kamloops and Alberta is becoming a safer, faster, more reliable corridor, even if there's still a long way to go. As of today, several major projects are active along Highway 1. These are stretches where you'll see the most equipment, detours, and lane shift, but also the most visible progress in upgrading the corridor to a safety, continuous 4-lane highway. Chase East, 4-laning a 3.8-kilometer stretch east of Chase Town Center. New median barrier, wider shoulders, and realigned intersection to improve safety. This phase closes a critical gap in the Shuswap corridor, where 2-lane bottlenecks previously caused long summer backup. This is an active construction zone with staged traffic control. Tappen, Ford Road to Tappen Valley Road. 4.3 kilometers of new 4-lane highway. A new median barrier, upgraded interchanges, local frontage roads, and replacement of the aging Tappen overhead bridge, a long bottleneck for freight and tourist traffic. This section eliminates risky merges and sketchy passing, improving both safety and flow. This is an active construction zone. R.W. Bruin Bridge, replacing the old narrow bridge over the Sicamous Narrows with a new 4-lane bridge and a 1.9 kilometer of 4-laning, including upgraded intersections between Old Sicamous Road and Silver Sands Road. Construction began fall of 2024. Staged daytime closures continue with final completion targeted for late 2027. Detours via Highway 97A or 97B may be required during closures. May 2025 saw temporary shutdowns due to local protests. This eliminates one of the most dangerous crossings in the Shuswap, giving tourists and freight a consistent, safe 4-lane crossing. Jumping Creek, west of Revelstoke. 4-laning through a narrow canyon section, including realignment of curves and cut-fill earthworks. New median barrier, retaining walls, and wildlife fencing. Reduces blind corners, improves passing safety, and brings a previous dangerous section up to modern design standard. This is an active construction zone with visible blasting, grading, and drainage installation. Selkirk, east of Quartz Creek, west of Golden. 3.9 kilometers of 4-laning in a narrow mountain corridor. 2 wildlife crossings with fencing, improved drainage, and a new rest area integrated with Quartz Creek upgrade. Closes the gap between Quartz Creek and the approach to Golden, reducing vehicle-wildlife collision and smoothing traffic flow. Construction is ongoing with grading, bridge work, and drainage installations. Right now, if you're driving between Kamloops and Golden, you'll pass through 7 active work zones. Each one messy today, but paving the way for safer and smoother travel tomorrow. Together, these projects tackle some of the worst choke points in the Shuswap and Columbia corridor, adding more continuous 4-lane mileage and modern safety features to one of Canada's most critical highways. Beyond the active work zones, the province's Highway 1 program shows a suite of planned projects stretching from Kamloops all the way to the Alberta border. These future phases are aimed at filling the gaps between existing 4-lane segments, extending the Shuswap upgrades eastward, and gradually approaching the park's boundaries where construction is the trickiest. Planned jobs are in various stages. Some already designed and funded, others still awaiting land acquisition, utility relocation, environmental approvals, or detailed engineering. The program runs on rolling multi-year budgets. For example, Budget 2023 outlined $728 million over 3 years for this corridor. That means projects are announced and procured as readiness allows, not all at once. Shuswap corridor, Tappen to Sicamous gaps. Planned twinning and 4-laning of remaining 2-lane segments between Tappen and Malacqua, plus minor realignment through lakeshore towns. Some of these sections could start as early as 2026, 2027, depending on environmental and community approval. Completing these segments will finally link Chase, Tappen, and Sicamous with continuous 4-lane highway, dramatically improving safety and seasonal traffic flow. Revelstoke East, Jumping Creek follow-up. Extensions of Jumping Creek upgrades include curves just east toward Revelstoke proper and tie-ins to Elizawet. Could begin 2027 and 2028 after current construction stabilizes the canyon approaches. Narrow valleys, steep terrain, and limited staging areas require careful engineering, though construction windows are often seasonal and staged. National Park boundaries, Glacier and Yoho. East of Revelstoke to Golden, Rogers Pass, Yoho. Potentially the most complex twinning in Canada, including Rogers Pass approaches, avalanche control zones, and sections through canyon walls along Kicking Horse River. Potential start is likely mid to late 2030s, pending Parks Canada's approvals, environmental assessment, and consultation with Indigenous communities. Why is this so slow? These are high hazard areas. Even if the corridor is priority, work here is constrained by avalanche risk, wildlife protection, and federal park regulations. Pulled into Alberta border. East of Yoho, approaching Banff National Park boundary, planned twinning and realignments target narrow canyon stretches and curves near Kicking Horse and Bow Rivers. Potential start date is beyond 2035 in the long-term plan, still largely a conceptual design stage. The goal is eventually create a continuous 4-lane route to improve reliability for freight and tourist traffic, but timelines are tied closely to approvals, land acquisition, and multi-jurisdiction coordination. So the what's next map is a mix of near-term projects ready to break ground within the next few years, mid-term phases lining up behind them, the long-term park boundary projects that will take decades. Funding is rolling, design and environmental approvals control the schedule, and land or utility issues can delay even fully funded projects. A huge chunk between Revelstoke and the Alberta border sits inside Mount Revelstoke, Glacier, and Yoho National Parks. Federal jurisdiction, different rules. Why the hesitation to just start there? Federal environmental processes and park mandates. Parks must protect ecological integrity while improving safety, meaning deeper study, design, and mitigation like wildlife crossings and fencing before you move dirt. Extreme terrain and hazards. Rogers Pass holds one of the densest avalanche path clusters in the world. Upgrades must integrate avalanche control and rockfall protection without compromising park value. Phased rehab focus. Parks Canada has been steadily investing in pavement rehab and targeted safety works while planning larger twinning pieces. But big 4-laning packages require more time to clear. Ask any long-haul trucker or local, and the stretches that make the drivers grip the wheel the tightest are Three Valley Gap, Revelstoke, Glacier, Yoho corridor, and select 2-lane gaps in the Shuswap. Crash data confirms what locals feel. Three Valley Gap, west of Revelstoke. Frequent head-on collisions, rockfall impact, and winter chain-up. Narrow shoulders and sharp lakeshore curve means even minor incidents can close the highway for hours. Rogers Pass and Glacier National Park. Avalanche-prone slopes combined with steep grades and blind corners result in frequent chain reaction collisions. Winter closures and sudden snowstorms make this one of the deadliest corridors in North America. Yoho Canyon and Kicking Horse approach. Tight canyon walls, high tourist traffic heading for Banff Lake Louise, and narrow shoulders cause a high rate of collisions, often leading to multi-hour shutdowns. Shuswap, 2-lane gap, fades to Sicamous, Tappen to Malakwa. Heavy summer RV traffic combined with freight trucks, narrow lanes, and limited passing opportunities make this corridor a hot spot for rear-end collisions and risky overtaking crashes. Why these sections aren't always first in line. Number 1, project readiness beats need. Even if a stretch is dangerous, governments can only start work when design, land acquisition, utility relocation, rail coordination, indigenous engagement, and environment permits are in place. Shovel-ready projects like Chase East, Ford Tappen, and Salmon Arm West jump the queue because federal and provincial dollars can be deployed immediately. Meanwhile, the deadliest stretches often require years of preparation before construction can begin. Jurisdiction and authority. Inside national parks, the province isn't prominent. Parks Canada leads these projects. That means all plans must go through federal pathways, including environmental assessment, Indigenous consultations, and heritage and wildlife protection. Even if the road is a priority for traffic safety, federal approvals and competing parks management objectives slow the progress. Complexity and cost. The geography alone drives up cost and complexity. Steep canyon walls and rivers mean bridges, snowsheds, and retaining structures are often required. Wildlife-rich corridors require fencing and dedicated animal crossings. Avalanche-prone slopes need mitigation structures and ongoing monitoring. For example, Kicking Horse Canyon demonstrated the trade-off. Just a few kilometers of upgrades took years and hundreds of millions of dollars, but the result was transformational. Similar projects in Glacier and Yoho will require even more resources per kilometer, slowing the schedule. So while these deadliest stretches grab headlines, and rightfully so, the real reason they're not first isn't negligent. It's a mix of project readiness, jurisdiction, cost, and engineering complexity. Until the designs, permits, and funding align, drivers still need to treat these sections with extra caution, particularly in winter or during peak tourist season. Four-laning is stitching together in chunks. You'll feel the biggest safety gains where divided lanes, interchanges, and frontage roads remove conflict points. Chase, Salmon Arm, West, Quartz, Donald, and Kicking Horse already drive night and day better. Until the gaps are closed, especially through the parks. Built in time, watch for construction windows. Sicamous is the big one right now, and take posted detours when closures hit. We'll keep tracking each phase as it opens. Drive safe. Thanks for riding along with us on this stretch of Highway 1, from Kamloops all the way to the Alberta border. If you found this guide helpful, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. It really helps us keep bringing you detailed road updates, dash cam drives, and all the behind the scenes on Canada's highways. We want to hear from you. Comment below with your experiences on these stretches, the tricky curves, the breathtaking views, or any tips for fellow drivers. Have you driven through Three Valley Gap, Rogers Path, or the Shuswap Gap? Share what you think makes these sections so challenging. And if you're planning a drive, remember, even on upgraded four-lane sections, stay alert, respect weather warnings, and give yourself extra time. Highway 1 is beautiful, but it can be unforgiving. Safety always comes first. For more videos like this, from dashcam drives to project updates across BC and beyond, hit that bell so you don't miss the next one. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the road.